It's time for At the Movies with Mr. B. And the B stands for bald. How's it going, Travis Byram? Welcome to Super Week, buddy.
Listen, man, breaking news on this podcast. One of the all-time greatest shows, Breaking Bad, is getting a reboot. They tapped your boy in for the lead role. It's Breaking Byram. I'm going to be Heisenberg.
Oh, I love it. Byram. Byramberg?
I love it either way.
One of those routes we could go. It's good to have you. It's good to have you. It's an annual thing now that we've seemed to kind of run into. This is all part of Super Week, our big Super Bowl extravaganza, 5 shows for a full week. And every year we get in a great segment with Travis Byram, who we're always happy to have here. We love him on this show. He's a fan favorite. And it always works out because we're big on the Oscars. We're big on Oscar predictions and going through the, prognosticating. And here we are. Nominations are out. They've been out for a couple of weeks now. We've had some time to digest, but now we can fully dive into this and won't beat around the bush here. Overall, your feelings on the Oscar nominations this year were what?
Man, overall, especially in the category that I and so many others care so much about the most, Best Picture, I truly think this is one of the strongest Best Picture lineups that we've had in years. Last year was so interesting. It wasn't a bad year necessarily, just a whole lot of love for sequels and remakes. And I was just really happy with the lineup that we got. Like I said, especially in Best Picture, tons of variety. Yes, we do have the classic staples. We got 3 biopics of great men, right? We've got a Holocaust drama in there, but we've also got some fantasy with Barbie. We've got some hilarious comedies with Poor Things, my favorite movie of the year. The Holdovers, my second favorite movie of the year. We have an aching drama in Past Lives, and we have 3 predominantly foreign language films between Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, and The Zone of Interest. So I'm very happy with a quite diverse lineup.
And it's the thing about the Oscars that I love, because there are a lot of movies that, sometimes kind of fall off of my radar or I'm not really paying attention to until the nominations come out. A lot of people will complain about the movies, the bigger budget blockbuster movies that don't get nominations or something, or don't get in the Best Picture. But it does bring your attention to films that are a little smaller, maybe, or don't have as big of a market, have not, gotten the type of box office love that maybe they deserve. And, there are movies like Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest, which were ones that I'd heard of, but I actually hadn't even really looked up the plot to. And once I see Anatomy of a Fall, I think people would love. And I think that was nominated. People are so into true crime now. And this trailer for this film just presents it almost like a true crime documentary that you're watching fold out. You don't know how it'll go. And Zone of Interest being a Holocaust film, but one that the general idea, it's very not creative because it's a true story, but it's not a tale that I've heard or a take on it that I've heard, being living a nice perfect dream house behind Auschwitz. It's a fascinating way to look at it, a fascinating and horrifying way. So I appreciate the Oscars for bringing films like this to my attention. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Overall, I think, you brought up Barbie. Barbenheimer was the big spectacle of the summer, having Barbie and Oppenheimer out on the same weekend. Oppenheimer led the Oscar nominations this year with 13 Oscar nominations. Poor Things, your favorite movie of the year, that got 11. Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's movie on Apple, 10 nominations. Barbie with 8. Maestro with 7. Then you got a bunch tied with 5, 3, and 2. Everything. So it's looking pretty good. So I want to start in that technical realm, the technical categories, visual effects, editing, costume design, makeup, cinematography, sound, production, all the production design, all that. any takeaways that you took from those categories, and any surprise nominees, any films that really built their load in there?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Visual effects is particularly interesting to me. Only one Disney film in there. I love to see that. Of course, not a lot of Disney love at all in this year's Oscars. I think Guardians, and I'm failing to think of anything else Disney related that was nominated, but I was happy to see Guardians in there. I love the Japanese Godzilla minus one sneaking in there too.
That
Mission
was
Impossible.
pretty, yeah, that was pretty incredible to see that get nominated, especially on its budget.
Yeah, it became such a word of mouth phenomenon. I haven't even seen it myself. I'm not a particular fan of the Godzilla films, but I just love nominations like that out of left field. And after being such a fan of the Mission Impossible films, after, oh God, I think the first one came out when I was born in 1996, and it has taken that long for the Mission Impossible franchise to get Oscar nominations. And I would love for it to finally be recognized for its visual effects here. I think that would be great. As far as other technical things, I am rooting hardcore for Barbie in production design. I think that's the front runner right now. They really made it look like a 1950s MGM musical. I love how kind of fake and also fantastical it looks at the same time. And yeah, I'm looking through these here now. I love the sound nomination for Oppenheimer. If anyone, who probably most everybody right now is in the theaters, there came a moment where you just felt like you were getting deafened by what was on screen. It was really an immersive experience, and Oppenheimer has been poised now all season to absolutely bulldoze the Oscars. So don't be surprised, if anyone wants to get an Oscar pool going. If Oppenheimer's in the category, it's a pretty safe bet.
That what you said about the sound of Oppenheimer is absolutely true, and it's what gets you is it happens a couple of times. It comes even at a time that it completely caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And I think it really worked for Nolan, because Nolan's had kind of a reputation of you're not able to hear the dialogue so well.
That's
in
right.
his films over the massive sounds that are happening. So for it to be in his nuclear bomb film that the dialogue is pretty well heard, his sound is pretty perfected. I think this is his masterpiece of a film so far.
Wow.
I personally, for me, as much as I'm a huge Dark Knight fan, I'm a huge Inception fan, and of the effects there. And Interstellar is one that I saw on a plane and loved, and I'd love to see it on a bigger screen and take it all in. But
Sure.
to me, this was just it was a captivating film through and through, and we'll continue that. But going to music here, we have Best Original Score and Best Original Song. Were there any surprises for you there? Because I had a couple with original score. I was surprised at first by John Williams' nomination for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I'll say that I did not remember, like, I didn't think about the score at all while watching that movie. I did enjoy the movie, but I didn't think about the score, which is rare for John Williams. I listened to it a little bit on my way home from work the other day, and I can actually see why it got the nomination. It has some really kind of beautiful moments and some beautiful flows through it.
Oh, wow.
It still surprised me.
Okay.
And Best Original Song, I was kind of surprised no Dua Lipa, to be honest. As much as it doesn't strike me as an Oscar song, and I'm happy for I'm Just Ken, and I think that What Was I Made For should have definitely been nominated.
For sure.
I know the Oscars do have a rule, right, that you can only have so many songs nominated from one movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a song limit. I know you can only. Well, no, I think you're right. I think you can only submit a certain amount of songs. A lot of studios are kind of reluctant to submit a ton of them. That's what happened a couple of years ago with Encanto. They were scared of ruling themselves out. They put in what would be the most Oscar-friendly one, the Dos Oreguitas kind of touching all Spanish song. They submit that, and then within the window of nominations to Oscar Day, We Don't Talk About Bruno just becomes the biggest hit of the year. As a former first grade teacher, I can tell you those kids would have voted for that to win the Oscar.
Yeah.
So studios are sometimes a little scared to throw all of their songs in the mix, but I had a ball with I'm Just Ken, and my fiance seen Barbie 3 times now, cries every single time during the What Was I Made For sequence. The only thing that I want to point out is I'm glad that you like the score for Dial of Destiny. Haven't seen the film, haven't listened to it. To me, my only beef is in both categories with Dial of Destiny and also the Hot Cheetos song from the Hot Cheetos biopic. Okay. That is by Diane Warren, who I believe, I should have double checked this. This is either her 18th, 19th, or 20th Oscar nomination. She is the definition of always a bridesmaid in this category. To me, it almost at this point is like a punishment. It's like clearly Billie Eilish is bulldozing the category. She's not going to win. She's getting nominated for the Hot Cheetos biopic. And I just think it could have served another song to be in that slot to help someone else's career. Diane Warren's a GOAT now. I don't think she needs any more.
You know, Eva Longoria and the Flamin' Hot Cheetos people were definitely like, oh, we got a nomination now.
Oh, wait,
Diane Warren in here.
Did you see it?
I did not see it. I did not see it at all. I didn't even see a trailer for it. I knew it was coming out, but I never saw any promotion for it.
I didn't either.
And I haven't thought about it since until I saw that nomination. I saw Flamin' Hot nominated. I was like, huh? And then Diane Warren, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's been nominated 14 times without a win. 14 times, no win. And crazy. I did see that only 4 films have featured 3 nominated songs in the history of the Oscars. That's Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Dreamgirls, and Enchanted. Dreamgirls and Enchanted lost on every nomination that they had. And after these 2 consecutive defeats, a new rule was instated in June 2008 that a film could have no more than 2 songs nominated, because I guess they thought they were canceling each other out. So
okay, that makes sense.
That is the situation there. Now, short films, animated film, documentaries, international film. What do you got?
Man, while I am an Oscar buff, I do not pretend to know that I know what's going on with the shorts. I was able to catch them one time at my local indie cinema, and I hope to do the same this year. But man, if listen, if you have seen all those before the nominations came out, bully for you. Animated film, I am very excited to see Spider-Verse there. A little disappointed to see it only in there. I would have loved to seen it in picture. I would have loved to seen it to see it in a score. I loved the soundtrack. A few of those songs surely could have made the list and replaced the Hot Cheetos song.
I think so.
But I'm also happy to see The Boy and the Heron. Love Miyazaki finally getting some love after an absence in the category for about 10 years. And an international film. Some astute people will probably notice that Best Picture nominee, Anatomy of a Fall, is not in the category. And that is because the director, Justine Triet, I believe is how you say her name, while she was accepting a prize for the film, she was very critical of the French government. So as a French middle finger back to Justine, the country decides which film they're submitting to the Oscars for consideration, just to be considered. As a diss to her, they picked some other French film, when clearly Anatomy of a Fall was, the winner of the Cannes Prize and clearly was getting buzz. And because of that, they submitted something else. And of course, that fell to the wayside. So That's why Anatomy of a Fall is in so many other stronger categories, but not an international film where I think it would absolutely dominate. But I think that leaves it wide open now. If a Best Picture nominee is in there, it's pretty much foregone. So I think Zone of Interest has at least got one Oscar coming its way on March 10th.
I saw Society of the Snow nominated there too, and that's a film that, like, right before the nominations came out, I was going through Netflix for the first time in forever, and that popped up, and I looked at it. I didn't give it a chance. I didn't look at the full trailer. I was just seeing. I was like, oh, another survival movie. But then I heard more about how incredibly brutal it is and incredibly harrowing the film is. So now I'm very interested to see that. I think it came up from Spain. So
Okay.
I'm curious about that animated feature. No real arguments there, except I was surprised to not see Super Mario Brothers. I was kind of a little surprised to not see it. And going back to original song, it would have been kind of fun to see Jack Black perform at the Oscars, perform Peaches.
So true, man.
There instead of Diane Warren.
I would have, yeah. He took Jack Black's spot. I would have loved it.
Right. And then documentaries, not really any that I've heard of or seen this year.
Same here.
And only with short film, Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, or Wes Anderson. I like that Wes Anderson managed to get in there some way this year. Yeah. If it wasn't for Asteroid City, he got in there with the very interesting Ronald Dahl adaptation.
Yeah, would love to see that.
So, screenplay, original and adapted. How you feel?
It's good, man. It's always a bit of a bummer when they go so tight to Best Picture. The only nominee not getting in there was Killers of the Flower Moon, which I was a little bummed out. I mean, you know, it's God, to make a story that interesting for 3.5 hours, you got to have an engaging script.
Right.
But I'm also not mad at May December taking that 5th slot. I think May December was one of the year's best films and is, as I'm sure we'll get into in a second, criminally overlooked in the top tier categories. I am just upset that Maestro got in there in a very by the numbers biopic. Just because Bradley Cooper did all of those things doesn't mean that he did all of them well. That's what I'll say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And you know what? With Killers of the Flower Moon, I heard a lot because Barbie, originally I was seeing it pushed for original screenplay. At the last second, the Oscars kind of made them push over to adapted screenplay and submit for adapted screenplay. So I could see where that could have been what kicked out Killers of the Flower Moon at the last minute.
Definitely.
Zone of Interest got a lot of love. The more I keep going through these nominations, that got a lot of love this year, especially, and that's very, very interesting to see for a foreign film.
Yeah, man.
But Hollywood loves Holocaust movies. My mom loves Holocaust movies.
It's a big parent genre.
Oh, yeah. Supporting actor and supporting actress. We'll go through these supporting categories. I think these are both pretty fascinating. Supporting actor, I was very happy to see this guy nominated, Sterling K. Brown. I've loved him since his role on the People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, and then he was on This Is Us, delivered fantastic performance, so it's nice to see him getting Oscar love. Robert De Niro was also nominated for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, and in supporting actress, you had Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, which is a surprise to me, Jodie Foster for Nyad, which was also a surprise because I had not heard of it, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. So, thoughts over on those nominations?
Yeah, man. I think supporting actor is extremely strong this year. Both Roberts, De Niro and Downey Jr., giving pretty identical, very sustained performances for actors known for bigger, showier roles. And I'll use the word once again. Downey Jr. is bulldozing it this year. Don't be surprised to see him clean up in SAG. I will not be surprised at all to see him take the trophy. The trophy. I think it's very merited. But my favorite performance of the entire year was Ryan Gosling. I wish they would throw him a couple of bones. I saw the movie twice, made me laugh in every scene twice over. But that's okay. I think it will eventually be his year, but I'm happy seeing RDJ get so much gold. I have not seen Naiad. It's another important white person biopic that loves to get promoted at the Oscars. My uncle has seen it, and it is very much an uncle parent movie, as we were just discussing. Um, all eyes, I think, are on Divine Joy Randolph, who is cleaning up this season. I can't think of a better Best Supporting Actress win for this year. She was really the heart of the holdovers. The other two characters, while equally as good, are a little strange and prickly, but she is just all heart. She calls them out on their bullshit. I think this will be a great win, and it must be said that it is a Black female supporting win that doesn't feel like she is being subservient. It's not about her suffering, for being a Black person. It's just a tale of a woman who is going through grief, and I think it'll go down in the books as one of the better wins in the category.
I would love to see, and it's such a surprise to see her deliver this kind of performance, knowing her mostly as like a comedy actor, seeing her on the Only Murders in the Building. She plays a detective on there. So
okay,
once I saw the holdovers and saw the performance that she delivered and how captivating she was, especially just in one moment where grief just takes a hold on her. And anybody that's been through the grieving process, especially if somebody that close, you completely relate to it and see the pain and the hurt and how just something small can just grab you. And she delivered it perfectly while also still delivering some hellaciously funny and tender moments with Paul Giamatti and the newcomer whose name I'm slipping on, but I thought he was fantastic in it as well. I could have honestly seen him getting a supporting actor nomination, but that category supporting actor, like you said, it's tight. It's really tight. And I loved De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon. I loved him a lot more than I expected to, honestly. And I think any other year it could have been a winning performance, but Gosling, super strong, incredibly funny, stole the movie the entire time. And Downey, I thought was brilliant. I thought he was captivating. I thought it was a performance that I wasn't really. It reminded me sort of Amadeus and the antagonist of Amadeus and how it's just it slowly devolves. The character's confidence and stride just devolves throughout the movie, and you see the little man inside him, everything just reaching out and what really is pulling the strings there. So I love it for Downey. I am pulling for him to win there. And supporting actress, I think it's Divines, but Danielle Brooks was really, really incredible in The Color Purple. Stole it with that role, delivers with that role as you need to with playing Sophia in The Color Purple. She was an incredible singer, had incredible just facial reactions throughout it. So I love both of these categories. Excited to see how they play out. Now, the lead acting categories. Lead actor, we had your boy, Bradley Cooper, nominated for Maestro. Coleman Domingo, nominated for Rustin. Paul Giamatti, nominated for The Holdovers. Cillian Murphy, nominated for Oppenheimer. And Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. And in lead actress, Annette Bening, nominated for Naiad. Lily Gladstone, nominated for Killers of the Flower Moon. Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall. Carey Mulligan, nominated for Maestro. And Emma Stone, nominated for Poor Things. I'll say right off the top, Coleman Domingo, incredibly. We've talked about him before on here. We've given love to him before on here from his time on Euphoria. Even my mom brings up Fear the Walking Dead is one that he's great on. And I'm really happy to see him getting Oscar love. And now he's like blowing up. Supposedly, I think he's supposed to be playing Joe Jackson in the Michael Jackson biopic. And
wow,
it was just announced that he's going to be directing and starring in a Nat King Cole biopic, which I think is perfect for him, knowing his singing voice and seeing that. And then Jeffrey Wright, I was very surprised to see it's his first Oscar nomination, so I'm happy for him there.
Yes.
And of course, with Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, love them. Lily Gladstone and lead actress, I'm very, very excited for her. I loved her performance in that film. And I have not seen Emma Stone in Poor Things, but I know you rave about it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts for both of these categories.
Yeah, man. I texted you this, and I'll say it to anyone. I don't care if it makes you go into the film with sky high expectations. I think they'll be met. Emma Stone in Poor Things is just, I can't sugarcoat it. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. You see a woman with the mind of a child turn into a sophisticated English aristocrat, and it it just needs to be seen to be believed. It's very raw. It's very weird. I would just love for her to win, but of course I'm also rooting for Lily as well. That is, I know she's been in several other things, but that is a star-making turn when you are up against Leo and Robert De Niro and you're taking their scenes. You are a force to be reckoned with. So I'd be happy with either of them there. Sandra was fantastic. Carey Mulligan was the best part of Maestro. So, I'll give it that. And then, yes, yeah, I just echo what you said. Coleman Domingo. I came out of his performance in Zola as an African pimp, and I said, oh, this man is headed for Oscar glory. The range on him is crazy. And yeah, insane that Cillian and Jeffrey hadn't been nominated before, but glad to see them there. But my heart for the control of the eye alone, I think, for Paul Giamatti, what he does with the prosthetic eye is Oscar worthy. So I am crossing my fingers and all my toes for him to win and finally be Oscar winner Paul Giamatti.
And shocking to me that this is his second nomination, like, and that his first nomination wasn't even for his previous Alexander Payne film, who Payne did this, The Holdovers.
Like,
Giamatti was in Sideways, which famously tanked the Merlot industry, and delivered such a crazy performance and did not get nominated. Instead, he was nominated for Cinderella Man. So it's wild to me on that front. And you brought up with Lily Gladstone how she held her own. It was like you couldn't tell that this was, you know, two heavyweights, two of the greatest heavyweights of all time, in DiCaprio and De Niro, and then a newcomer in Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone was straight up just punching right with them. They almost had to keep up with her in terms of her stoicness. So
presence.
Love it, love it, love it. I was surprised DiCaprio didn't get nominated for it. I loved his performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, and I thought it was very different for him. He had a couple, as we say, his DiCaprio moments where he just lets what do you do? Like just like screaming or, you know, doing super dramatic, but he just played a dope in this movie and kind of a scumbag. And he was great at it, just playing a schlub. And
he was great.
I'm surprised that he didn't get nominated, especially hearing what I've heard about Bradley Cooper. But digress.
We digress.
Best director. Best director has been controversial, along with lead actress, because we skipped over it a little bit. But talking about Barbie, and it's been probably the biggest talk from this. I think everybody's talked about it at nauseum, so we don't have to dive into it too much. But Margot Robbie was not nominated for Barbie for lead actress. I expected her to get nominated at a point. I think a lot of people believe it was Annette Bening that pushed her out on this, and I can't say for sure that Robbie is better than Bening for the nomination here, but I did think she was wonderful in the film. But best director, I think, is where the biggest snub for me was. Because we had Justine Triet nominated for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese nominated for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan nominated for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos nominated for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer nominated for The Zone of Interest. Now, these are all very captivating films and very deserving films, but I did think that Greta Gerwig delivered an incredible performance as a director with Barbie. I think that what she was able to pull off with what is predominantly a comedy, and especially that I think comedy is harder than drama a lot of the times, in terms of you to be able to make somebody laugh is a lot harder than to make somebody cry. I made somebody cry earlier just by showing them the trailer for Tuesday, starring Julia Louis-Dreyfus, an upcoming A24 film. It's just,
wow.
That's an easy making you cry. You can always reach something, making you laugh and getting something out of a stoic person. That's impressive. And Greta did that for a lot of people and delivered a lot of Oscar-worthy performances, like Ryan Gosling, Margot Robbie, and apparently America Ferrera. And
yeah,
so it was surprising to me that she didn't get nominated. But how do you feel about her being snubbed essentially, and these 5 being nominated?
Yeah, man, the film Twitter discourse has been exhausting. When something goes for more than a day on film Twitter, you know it's something that people are holding on to, because everything usually has a 24-hour expiration. Yeah, she certainly would have made my top 5. She made not only the movie of the year, but clearly a film with a vision. A Barbie movie in a generic director's hands could have been a fall flat on its ass, and she made a feminist masterpiece. And yeah, I was bummed not to see her. I still think, though, that being said, Justine Triet's the first French woman nominated ever, should not be ignored. Anatomy of a Fall, I'm still working on my top 5. It has got to be in there. I am not a courtroom drama man, and she elevated the hell out of it. So I am happy for her that she was in there. Haven't seen Zone of Interest yet, but extremely, even with the Gerwig snub, extremely strong lineup.
Okay. I can get down with this. I need to see Anatomy of a Fall. I am a courtroom drama
guy.
It's turned out to me. I didn't realize that I was until I was watching some, and I was like, oh, I'm captivated.
Yeah. Love it, man.
Best Picture, we've gone over the nominees. We've pretty much gone over them all, but just to give it to everybody, American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Overall thoughts, who do you think is the front runner right now to win it?
And just a couple of sentences for overall thoughts. Maestro sticks out like that picture. You know that picture of Drake when he's sitting with the football team? And the caption is, "Blood thinks he's on the team." Maestro thinks he's on the team. Not even close to the quality of the other films on display. My hating aside, love to see so many comedies nominated between Barbie, American Fiction, and Poor Things, and The Holdovers. Like, all very much, comedies with some drama, but very funny films. Yeah, I think it'll go down in history as one of the strongest lineups. I think it's the strongest lineup of the decade, and I would bet my whole life savings that Oppenheimer walks away 7-8 Oscars minimum with Best Picture.
I like it. Okay. And we'll dive into that, even deeper in the near future when we get our we do Ricks versus Gricks for football. And of course we do Ricks versus Gricks for the Oscars too. We're going to get your predictions, and people bet on these things, man.
Hell yeah.
People gamble on the Oscars. So we're going to help them out on that. Overall, I tend to agree with this. I think Oppenheimer's going to take it. I think Oppenheimer should take it. Only film I would have liked to have seen get in there was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and not just as a supremely biased Spider-Man fan. I have a Miles Morales in DC thing hanging up right next to me, but I also just thought it was an incredible experience in theaters. I thought it was a very well-told story, and I thought it was incredible animation and could have snuck in there. But overall, after agreeing with you, have you seen some of these films like The Holdovers, Oppenheimer, Barbie? The Holdovers especially. I love that movie so much.
Oh,
it's I can't argue with these nominees, and I'm happy with what we got here.